A friend of ours was in a motorcycle accident last weekend. They say the reason Jason got hurt was because he was riding when he was impaired.
What do you mean when you say he was impaired?
I'm not completely sure. Maybe Jason had too much to drink, or maybe he had consumed some recreational drugs.
That seems like a pretty vague definition for what it means to operate a motorcycle while impaired.
I know, but that is the definition of impaired that we have always used.
Let's suppose for a moment that you were given a clean tablet and could define impaired motorcyclist any way that you wanted. What would your definition be?
That is a great question. Let's see, how about at any particular moment in time, a motorcyclist is physically or mentally unable to safely operate a motorcycle. This definition would also apply to the motorcyclist's passenger, if not physically or mentally able to safely be a passenger. You know, I think that I really like that definition. It creates a new framework for thinking about what it means to be an impaired motorcyclist. Thank you for making me stop and think about what it means when we say a motorcyclist is impaired.
So let's apply that definition to some real-world situations. You know, situations that motorcyclists possibly face every time that they go out riding. Suppose that a motorcyclist was diabetic and his blood sugar level became dangerously low? Would you consider that motorcyclist to be impaired?
Yes. At that particular moment, by using my new definition, that motorcyclist would be considered impaired. And if that person was my friend, and I was riding with them that day, I would do everything in my power to make sure that they did not operate their motorcycle until they had gotten their blood chemistry back to normal.
So you are saying that being impaired isn't necessarily a negative thing, that good people who don't drink and ride, or who don't use recreational drugs could also be considered an impaired rider under certain circumstances.
Exactly. You know, I think that we are onto something important here. Can you think of other everyday situations that would be reasons why a motorcyclist might be considered impaired?
Sure. And all I have to do is think of some of the things that have happened to our friends while we were motorcycling with them. Remember the time that Tom had a wasp fly up the sleeve of his leather jacket and sting him in the arm? Within an hour, his whole right arm was swollen up and numb. Or how about the time we were riding to Duluth and Betty got so badly sunburned and dehydrated that she got the chills, stomach cramps and nearly passed out? Or the time that Gary dropped his prescription glasses while taking his helmet off and broke both lenses and had to ride without his glasses on the way home. You know, I guess that we have been encouraging our friends to be impaired motorcyclists without realizing it. From now on, we should not let our friends ride while impaired. They might not only hurt or kill themselves, but they might also hurt or kill some innocent bystanders.
Now I'm starting to feel really guilty. Remember last weekend when Frank lost his footing when he came up to that stoplight because there was sand on the road and his boot slipped? There was poor old Frank at the intersection with his motorcycle laying on top of him. I know his pride was hurt, and I also know that he injured his ankle so badly that he could hardly walk. But we just kept on riding for the rest of the day. Looking back on the situation, we should have ended our ride right there and found a safe way to get Frank and his motorcycle home safely. I think I will call Frank and apologize for putting him in that dangerous situation.
I think that we have stumbled onto something too big to keep to ourselves. But how can just the two of us change the way hundreds of thousands of motorcyclists in Minnesota think about what it means to be impaired? Potentially, each and every one of those motorcyclists is an important tool that can be used each and every day to keep impaired motorcyclists off Minnesota's roads.
I have a friend that is a member of the Minnesota Motorcycle Safety Advisory Committee. I will contact her and see if they can help us educate the Minnesota motorcycling community. It will be a big project and will take some time to successfully complete. But it has to be done because it is the right thing to do. Remember, an impaired motorcyclist is an unsafe motorcyclist. They not only pose a threat to themselves, but to others as well.
Great. That sounds like a good plan. Every day, you and I can keep our eyes open for impaired motorcyclists and can initiate interventions to prevent them from riding while they are impaired. And hopefully the Minnesota Motorcycle Safety Advisory Committee can come up with a public information campaign that will help change the culture of what it means to be an impaired rider. It looks like Jason's accident, while unfortunate for him, might just turn out to be a blessing in disguise. I am glad that we had a chance to have this little conversation.